Hey, Dark Horse Nation, Brendan Dunlop back here, and thought we'd bring you some NBA conversation. So happy to bring in my friend, NBA writer for Raptors.com and NBA analyst, Vivek Jacob. Vivek, welcome to the Dark Horse Space, man.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about someone the entire world is talking about. Because he's 7'2", because he's 18, and depending on who you read or what time of the season, he may just be the most incredible basketball player ever. I'm talking about Victor Wembanyama, who everyone is talking about as this guy that's just destined to be elite. That's a lot of pressure on a guy that's just 18 playing in France right now, man.
It's crazy. And I mean, you look at the hype, like the NBA app, they're showing all his games. You can just tune in and check him out. And the things he's doing on the court are just ridiculous, right? Like when you see those plays that are going viral, like this guy is, like you said, 7'2", putting the ball through his legs, no problem. Step back fadeaways, like it's unheard of. He's like, we thought Kevin Durant was unheard of when he first came in, right? And he's just shooting these silky jumpers. And now you've got Wembanyama doing it. It's insane.
He's a human highlight reel, right? And it's kind of the evolution of this game where you've got someone who can play with the tenacity of LeBron, who has the height of Sean Bradley, literally, and is able to make it look kind of so flawless. Do you think that there's any doubt, barring injury, that he's the #1 draft pick?
I think it's interesting in the sense that, like, when we talk about pressure, LeBron came in and it was like, this guy might be the greatest basketball player ever. Like, right from the beginning, it was like, the goal is to be better than Michael Jordan, right? I don't think Wembanyama is coming in with that type of expectation. I don't even know if people are looking at him and saying right away that this is gonna be the best big man ever, let alone the best basketball player ever, right? So I think there's still that curiosity. Some of that might be, you know, that Euro bias like we saw with Luka Doncic. Like, he was killing it in the Euro League and still people were like, oh, you know, he did it there. He didn't do it in the NCAA, so it's not the same thing. And then obviously we know what happened. So some of it might be that, but either way, I think he's gonna be a special player. All-time greatness, that I think you have to see it play out on an NBA court first.
Sure, guy's still marinating. We're so quick to jump to it and put the GOAT title on a guy who hasn't even been drafted yet. But Giannis, who's one of the most feared players in the NBA, and someone who I think there was that Euro bias against, that people thought, maybe he's not for real. You know, he's got some moments. Now an NBA champion, solidified as one of the best players in the NBA. He says that Wembanyama is going to be a problem.
He's taller than Rudy Gobert. Wow, he's taller than Rudy Gobert, but he can block shot like Rudy, but shoot like KD. bro, crazy.
That's a big weight from someone who would know, right?
Yeah, and I think that's someone who's kind of recognizing the value of competing in Europe as well, right? And you look at guys like Luka Doncic again, who come here and say, hey, like in some ways, playing in Europe is harder, right? Like the way the NBA game is refereed is different. And so when you go up against professional guys from such a young age, right? That's gonna prep you a lot more than going up against, you know, another rookie, sophomore in college, right? And so I think he's definitely gonna have that advantage, but the big thing, when you talk about Giannis, the work that he's put in with his body, going from where he was when he was first drafted to what he is now, that's something that Wembanyama is going to have to do as well, right? Like, he does have a very thin frame, and so that is going to be tested when it comes to the NBA level.
Everyone who plays in Europe and comes to the NBA has to adapt in some way. If it's just physical that he's adapting to, I think that's what gives him such a head start and what gave Luka Doncic such a head start as well.
Yeah, and again, you know, he would argue that even if he doesn't have that physical frame right now, the way the league has trended, he can kind of hang outside, right? Like, this isn't the 90s where you got to post up and bang against other, you know, 7-footers, 250, 300 pounds, right? So he can just space the floor, you know, work off the dribble as he's shown, and just get shots off from wherever he wants on the court. So he's gonna argue that, and then as the other stuff comes along, then we'll talk about, you know, the all-time stuff.
You know who I'm happy for? RJ Barrett, because I feel like the Knicks are just they might as well just tank the rest of the season, get that #1 pick. And then you can have a Canadian and a Frenchman save the New York Knicks in the Mecca. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, I mean, don't forget about what's happening with the Lakers too. I think it'll be hilarious
tanking?
if they drop all the way down and the New Orleans Pelicans have the right to swap the pick and he ends up in New Orleans. Imagine that. And then you talk about two physical freaks in Zion Williamson and potentially Victor Wembanyama.
Oh,
That would be insane to watch.
you just got me thinking that that's probably the NBA's dream scenario all of a sudden now. And New York really isn't the place, but I'm excited that we can watch him on the NBA app, and that's the evolution now. Everything is accessible, right? That wasn't the case with some of these big European stars before. Even Doncic, you had to be a real hardcore and know exactly where the red X is in all your illegal streams in order to be watching these games. Now you're doing it with a paid subscription, but this guy's the real deal in that sense.
No question.
Thanks for checking out our Dark Horse Sports Club content. Hop in the Discord and join the action.